Welcome to Sports, Clicks, and Politics with your hosts, Ben Hussong and me, Shawn Hannon. Welcome to Sports, Clicks, and Politics with your host. Welcome to Sports, Clicks, and Politics with your hosts, Ben Hussong and me, Shawn Hannon. Welcome.
That's fun.
Well, I can fix it.
Why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sorry. I'm just a glass half full kind of guy.
I did it.
You got it.
Can you hear it?
You're good.
Welcome to episode 61 of Sports, Clicks, and Politics. I apologize for the audio difficulties there, but we have made it successfully to non-echo broadcast. So I can't even blame that on you being late.
I know.
I was ready to go, and you were late anyway, and
I
neither
was.
one of it worked out. So
I was. That's on me. Sorry, guys.
Well, at the risk of sounding, I don't know, give us a like. This is probably not a good time to give us a like.
We need it.
We definitely need it.
The
Please like
algorithm
and
is
share
not
this
gonna like
video. Yeah, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. And hopefully the rest of the show will be more smooth than the first 3 minutes here so far. But Mr. Hussong, thank you for joining us. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Spent a lot of time slinging some ice cream, went to some parties, spent a little time with the family. I actually had a family meal for the first time in a couple of months.
Wow.
Which was nice.
Yeah, I was slinging drinks at the venue there. So
Nice.
had a big full weekend. So I
Have
guess
fun?
both. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not have fun when watching people drink for a living. So
Sure.
that's what I do.
That is fun.
It is fun. Are you excited for the Perseid meteor shower? It's peak week.
Yep.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
I don't have a clue what you're
It's
talking
like
about.
I don't know, the probably the most frequent shooting star meteor shower that you can see. So they probably come every couple minutes here. So you can kind of look up. If you get to the right, if you get your lights dimmed in the city wherever you're living or whatever, you might not have that issue. I have a little bit of an issue here in the city, but
I do not.
you can look up and basically see meteors. So maybe grab the kids and take them outside.
I like it. Does it start tonight?
It's been going on since end of July, but this is peak week.
Got
so
him on top of this.
It goes through August 18th, I feel like.
Hey, we're looking for a family activity for tonight. I think we might have just found it.
Yeah, and so and we have never covered this here, but these are one of the hypothesized meteor showers that has presented problems for our planet in the past, where maybe we were going through this meteor shower tail and maybe we got something more than shooting stars in the past that maybe caused some problems on this planet. But that's a whole nother show.
I'm a little confused, but I'm looking forward to
I'm
that
just
show.
saying, so the meteor showers are tails of previous destroyed comets, right? So these comets are circling. They've been somehow eradicated, and now they're still zipping through space, and they're just a tail of debris. So at some point they were much bigger, and at some point they collided with
something,
right? So, and things have collided with our planet in the past. So,
just ask
this
the
is
dinosaurs.
just this meteor shower. There's another one too in the fall. They're just culprits or suspects of being the cause of these massive problems. So when you look up, if one gets too close, duck.
Sure. It's good instinct.
Did you also know tomorrow would be, we didn't get a chance to do it. I have no Jeffrey Epstein stories today, but tomorrow marks the 2-year anniversary of his quote-unquote death.
I still think he's dead. I think it was suicide.
He might be dead. I mean,
I know. We'll settle that one day.
But tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary, so.
Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah. All right.
What do you say about that?
Let's get into some of the, I don't know, I guess give a rundown. We're going to obviously jump into all things Governor Cuomo, impeachment, resignation, investigation, all of that good stuff at the end here and see how that all unfolds.
He's been in the news a little bit lately.
A lot of it, yeah. His favorite mayor is also in the news. You see that he's instituted some vaccine mandates down in the great city of New York. We'll talk about that a little bit. I know we're going to touch on natural immunity.
About time.
Somebody's got to.
Somebody
I guess we'll do it. I also want to talk about the Superspreader events that have been going on, right? With Lollapalooza, Sturgis, Obama. What? Superspreader events. They're all being labeled Superspreader events, Ben.
I hate you.
So we're going to talk about those a little bit, or not, or just, how
we'll touch on them.
Yeah, we'll touch on them. Not New York touch, but, different. Also, your favorite crypto, well, my favorite crypto is retouching 46,000 I saw today. Where are we at? 45.7, so a little dip here. It got up to 46.2 something. But a big bounce here for crypto, so I'll check in on those prices. And the NFL is back, Mr. Hussong. The Hall of Fame game last week, the my Steelers, I say in quotes anymore because I don't really follow as much as I used to, but my Steelers and the Cowboys played in the Hall of Fame game, so I didn't watch a second of it, but I'm sure it was exhilarating for the people who were playing.
Yeah, I'm happy for them.
Did you see, speaking of the NFL, did you see that there more and more players are joining the Team Cole Beasley?
I did not see that.
Yeah, so
that's exciting.
Yeah, the DeAndre Hopkins.
I did know that.
Pretty notable player here. This is coming from an article in The Hill. NFL tensions rise over vaccine rules. So there's listen to this. So the NFL basically clarified some of their positions, and they basically said that if a team has an outbreak that requires a game to be forfeited and they can't find a suitable rescheduling date for this game and can't make it happen, that the team that caused the outbreak will have to forfeit that, get a loss in their record, so it'll actually serve as a game played, if you will, and they'll get a loss for whoever's deemed to be the culprit in the outbreak. But even more minute than that, or minutia, and within if you read the details of that, it's not just when a team has an outbreak, it's when an unvaccinated player has caused the outbreak. So if a vaccinated player causes the outbreak, there's no ramifications whatsoever.
Makes total sense.
For any of the players. There's literally rules in place for those who are unvaccinated and consequences for them spreading the virus as an unvaccinated player, but none of that transfers over to the vaccinated players.
Science.
Yeah. I mean, clearly it's a coercive measure just to try to get these players to take it. And I'm glad. I hope more and more players, Derek Anderson, I remember him, he's quarterback. So he's come out and basically said it's bullshit. So basically citing that exact point, basically saying that how are vaccinated players being excluded from, a responsibility of spreading this this virus when we know that vaccinated people can spread this virus.
Quick anecdote on Derek Anderson. I was at a Buffalo Bills versus Cleveland Browns game a few years back.
That sounds terrible, by the way.
Oh, buddy. It was like 80-mile-an-hour winds on top of it, so it was the funniest game I've ever seen. The Bills did lose this game. Derek Anderson, the winning quarterback, went 2 for 17 passing. It was like Ryan Lindell was the kicker for the Bills at the time. He tried to kick like a 35-yard field goal, I think it was, and it went out the sideline. That's how windy the game was. It was the worst football game I've ever seen in my entire life. And Derek Anderson, not your fault, man, but all the same.
He won. It's not his fault.
I mean, 2 for 17 on the victory. That was a proud moment in Bills history. But back to your point, I guess this is what doesn't make sense to me. All right, you want everybody to get vaccinated. I really still don't understand why. Initially, it was because we've got to fight this thing and we got to prevent the spread. Okay, but now even the CDC is acknowledging that the vaccine has very little impact on your capacity for spreading it, especially with the Delta variant. Now, we can argue about how early on this data was obvious. I'm going to make the argument that even in the initial trials, it was pretty obvious that this was going to end up being the case. If you bothered to read anything beyond the headline or the words like, potentially, maybe, could possibly lead to a reduction in spread somewhat. Like, yeah, forgive me if I'm not like jumping on board with that type of resolve. So either way, we now know that it doesn't. So this rule makes no sense on several levels of, all right, I get it. You're just going for PR points. You're the NFL. It's what you do. But people have some objectivity in this. Like, why are we coercing 30-year-old professional athletes to get this vaccine? Like, it has no impact on the capacity to spread it, and it has very little, almost no impact on their susceptibility to getting very sick or dying. I get it. It's a reduction. But if something's already a 1 in a million chance, if you make it a 1 in 2 million chance, like, yeah, it's twice as good, but it already wasn't going to happen. Like, that's what I'm having a hard time with, of why. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's part of the propaganda for the vaccine. Did you see that Canada is opening their border to vaccinated Americans?
Hooray.
So I can, go up to
I
Canada.
But
well, right. Well, shh.
Sorry.
Shh.
I mean, yes, I can.
So, I'm the NFL, I still feel like is the sport of sports at this point.
In this country.
In this country, for sure. And I'm not sure that it's probably on solid ground, but I'm not sure it's on as solid ground in that regard as it has been in the past.
No, they keep finding ways to screw it up.
Right, they keep screwing themselves, for sure.
It's amazing to watch.
I think the players in the NFL, especially the ones who are trying to push back on this, on these requirements and mandates, are actually doing it for a greater good too. Because I think the NFL platform is one of the largest. It's going to reach a lot of people who normally wouldn't be paying attention to necessarily COVID vaccination news. So I think it's going to
open some eyes.
I think it's going to at least open some discussion.
Yeah,
and hopefully that turns into opening of eyes, I guess. So I would like to see more information being disseminated, across platforms, and maybe the NFL can do that because they're being so draconian that they can actually open up a conversation to the other side.
Yeah, and for the NFL's Players Association, the NFLPA, the fact that you agreed to this deal and you didn't obviously talk to enough of your members and get their opinion on it, but that aside, if you're not, between the NFL and the NFLPA, if they're not offering T-cell testing, natural antibody testing, prior immunity, prior infection, and allowing these guys to at least be informed on if they already had it, if they have natural immunity, if they have acquired immunity, then you're not serious. You're not
serious about the players' health,
of COVID,
right? I mean, you're not clear
serious
about health. You're serious about something else.
Right. You're just not, this is not a serious conversation because the natural immunity aspect is overwhelmingly obvious at this point. And it would be a relative, instead of paying to test these players once a week forever, why don't you just get them the test? It's available, it costs about $200. And you can find out. Because by all indications, if you have T-cell or B-cell immunity, every indicator is pointing in the direction of it is robust and it lasts a super long time. There's far greater data to support natural immunity long term than there is to support the idea that vaccines supply long-term immunity. Like, I'm sorry, vaccines might, I'm not ruling it out, but if you're looking at the two stockpiles of evidence, one for vaccine, one for natural immunity, the natural immunity, there's far more indicators indicating positive results than there is on the vaccine. So I don't know what the NFL is doing, but here's what I know. If your stated goal is, well, we just want to make sure the players are healthy and we want to stop them from spreading it, and you're not offering the antibody test, the T-cell, B-cell immunity test, you're not actually serious about addressing the problem. You're basically like California fighting homelessness at this point. You don't want to solve it. You just want to figure out PR and money. All right. Forgive me if I don't want to play your stupid game anymore. And forgive me for not being 100% behind this because you're not serious.
Yeah, I mean, something's going to happen. There's going to be an outbreak because
of course
it's a virus. So it'll be interesting to see if, so there's some, I'll say brand name players, your boy Josh Allen, who's not disclosed. These are people who have not disclosed their status. A lot of quarterbacks, actually. Dak Prescott, another one who has not disclosed his status. Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins says he was wrap himself in plexiglass before he gets the vaccine. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So,
you know, like he's a very slightly above average quarterback, but man, that dude's funny. Like the stuff that he comes out with is just wonderful. Yeah. The other thing is this. When, let's say, the data continues following the path that it's on right now, and we can talk a little bit about this, but the vaccine efficacy results out of Israel are not promising after about 6 months. And I get it. It's not like it goes to 0, but it's a bigger drop than anybody was anticipating. I shouldn't say anybody. Than the pharmaceutical companies were claiming it would be. And Israel is already issuing booster shots. I think they've given away like 500,000 or something like that. So I would anticipate we're going to see that in America too, of you're going to get to the point in 6 months after vaccination. What's 12 months after vaccination going to look like? Do you think it's going to plateau, or do you think that this drop in efficacy will continue? So what if a player gets vaccinated but then doesn't want to get the booster shot? Which camp does he fall in then? Is he mandated every time a new booster shot comes out? If he doesn't get it, he falls in line, or he falls under the draconian policies of unvaccinated players? Like, you're setting yourself up for a very complicated problem.
Yeah, and how are they going to tell who spread it to who?
They can't. And that's the problem, is especially when you know, and this is not me talking, this is the CDC with the Delta variant, the vaccinated are equally as likely to spread it as the unvaccinated. So you have the unvaccinated getting tested every day and the vaccinated getting tested every week. Who do you think is actually going to be responsible for the spread if you were playing odds? Yes, and I get it. The only claim now is, well, you're less likely to get very sick or die. But again, if I already have a 1 in a million chance and you make it into 1 out of 1,500,000,
be thankful.
Yeah, like, what do you want me? You want a parade? I don't understand what you want me to do for you here when it doesn't impact the spread. And let's just, again, play this out. All right, well, the Delta variant, it doesn't. The first ones they said it did, and now this one it doesn't. As successive mutations come out, the vaccine is less effective against each one. Do we, again, expect that to stop and reverse? Because that would seem to be the opposite of what would be indicated, is that as more and more variants, as the virus continues to mutate further, it's going to continue to become less susceptible to vaccinated immunity. Okay, that's cool. So it's really, what did we do this for? What are we doing? I genuinely am trying to figure this out of, like, this was completely predictable. There's people ringing the alarm saying, don't do this. This is a very bad plan. You're not thinking this through. It's going to continue to do this. And it's spreading, it's mutating in the unvaccinated. Again, maybe somebody smarter than me can explain this to me. Why would a virus have to mutate in somebody who doesn't have any protection?
Yeah, it doesn't.
There's no need.
It actually mutates when it's exposed to a force that is trying to eradicate it.
That causes it to mutate. So that's what I like.
It's the vaccinated people causing the variants.
We didn't see a single variant until the vaccines came out, even though people had natural immunity, had acquired immunity, and everything else. We didn't see a single variant. Then the vaccine trials started, and then people started getting vaccinated around the world, and then variants started popping up. It's a weird coincidence that we managed to go 9 months without a single variant.
And a coincidence that was foreshadowed, if not predicted, by Dr. Geert Vanden Bossche, who we haven't talked about this whole aspect of this in any one of our shows, I believe, where he basically makes the exact assertion, has been making it for months, that, hey, we're releasing a vaccine, a non-sterilizing vaccine, right? So vaccine in quotes, I guess.
Yeah.
So something that doesn't keep you from getting the virus. It just lessens the symptoms. So basically, it's people walking around with less symptoms spreading the device or the virus. So it's the asymptomatic people are now actually the vaccinated who they've suppressed the symptoms but are still being able to transmit it. So
they're going to make asymptomatic spread an actual thing.
Yeah.
And listen, repeat his name, so I don't remember his name.
Geert Vanden Bossche?
Geert Vanden Bossche. This guy's not like an anti-vax guy.
Oh, he's a vaccinologist.
Right. It's like his entire career has been vaccines. It's what he does. It's what he worked for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's worked for governments. He's done everything, done testing, done efficacy, all the things. Huge, true believer in vaccines. And he came out, this was months ago, and was like,
we're doing it wrong.
You're doing the wrong thing. Like, I know vaccines as well as anybody in the world. This is not going to go how you want it to go. You're predicting something that is not indicated by any of our past history with viruses, respiratory illness, or other vaccines. Like, this is not going to eradicate it. You don't do this in the middle of a pandemic when it's this spread out.
And his concern was it's going to force variants.
Right.
Here we are.
Weird. Again, so this was completely predictable. It's weird that Dr. Fauci missed that because he is the smartest immunologist and virologist in the world, and hence why he's been the head of a government organization for 30 years.
Did you see that Fauci's now a proponent of oral treatments, early treatment vaccine, or early oral treatments? So like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, fluvoxamine. It's been 12, 14 months late, but here we finally got here.
I wonder what data changed. I wonder what science changed.
Well, I can tell you.
Go ahead.
There's a new antiviral drug coming out that is under patent. That's going to be. He's basically a salesman. So here we are.
This guy so much.
Let's quickly touch on the bounce back of crypto.
Yeah.
Because that's fun for everybody, right?
Well, it's fun for us.
Well, it's fun for us.
I don't know about everybody.
Yeah, it's fun for me because I get to remind people who I've told to buy for the last, 5 years who haven't. Touched 46,000 Bitcoin did today.
Ayo.
And this is kind of on the heels of the announcement that there's a crypto portion of the infrastructure bill, which makes total sense. And so there has been a quote unquote bipartisan deal reached in this infrastructure bill on crypto. That makes me nervous. Very nervous. That being said, I'm assuming that information was leaked to the powers that be and has been going up all morning. So I haven't read the bipartisan deal. I'm usually very skeptical of bipartisan deals in general. So we'll see what this one actually says and how it impacts people. But it seems as though the people who are investing in Bitcoin don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to them anyway, if its price is going up right now.
I mean, listen, there's people that casually invest in Bitcoin that are going to jump in now, and then they're going to come out with this bipartisan deal that's actually really bad, and then they're going to be a mass panic and sell off, and then they're going to claim, see, average investors are getting hurt and we need to regulate it. That's my true conspiracy skeptic going on. But for people like myself and what I assume you are, I'm holding.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I'm in.
It's a long-term thing, right? So
I'm playing the long game. So
I mean, it's fun. It's fun for us to talk about when the price goes up, especially when it goes up quickly. I think it's been up 17% this week, so that's pretty.
Ethereum is up above 3,000 again.
Yeah,
these are big numbers, and it's fun to watch. And listen, if you don't understand it and you want to invest in it, God bless you. Go do some research. It's not for the faint of heart. It is a roller coaster, and
it's fun though.
It is my.
After you go through the first one, every one that follows is a little bit less dramatic, and you're like, I've been here,
I've done this before. Yeah.
These wounds are old.
Yep.
So
you start to get those calluses built up.
Yeah. But it's, again, always fun that when Bitcoin's on the move. So hopefully it kind of gets back above that 46,000 and gets up to 50,000, because that's kind of the psychological barrier to a lot of ways that, it got up to, what was it, high as 63, 64,000, I feel like, at one point. So we're creeping right back up to where all-time highs are. So we'll see what happens if it breaks new all-time highs. 100,000 by the end of the year, Mr. Hussong. What do you think?
I mean, let's go, baby.
Let's get it
to the moon.
All right, so let's talk about super spreader events.
Are you putting air quotes on that?
I guess. I mean, some people think they're air quotes, or they're not super spreader events. Some people think they are. I'm not as convinced. I mean, I don't care if they spread, I guess, is really the main point to take away from all of this is, they're spreading a virus that is not all that lethal. But regardless, they are. Oh man, I lost my Bitcoin thing. My whole day is not great. My whole production today, Mr. Hussong, for the show has been very, very under average.
You know what? Everybody's allowed an off day,
I guess.
Just make sure you bring your A game.
I'm just trying to get the Bitcoin ticker back above my head so you can stare at it, but it's not here. I'll work on that.
Sounds good.
Super spreader events. So, do you remember? Or was it last year? I guess it was 2020, right? Where Sturgis was this big feared super spreader event, and all the motorcycle gangs were going to spread COVID around the world and kill us all.
Sure.
It didn't happen, but that was the big fear anyway. And so, on top of that, we also had Lollapalooza. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of it. It's freaking a gigantic concert. It was in Chicago. It looked like there was 100,000 people at the whatever their stadium they used it at. But also the big one that was getting a lot of noise in the last week has been the Obama variant, right? So the Obama turned 60.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, President Obama. Do we know that it was his birthday? Did we check the birth certificate?
Oh, don't go down
I'm just
that
sorry.
road.
Sorry. 60. He turned 60. He invited 500, 700 something events. Pearl Jam played.
Sweet.
Some other DJ.
I would not have pegged Obama as a Pearl Jam guy.
Me neither. But he's 60, so he's starting to get old. That's a thing. He said, or somebody said, they were going to downsize the event or minimize some of the the activities that were going on there. But the tent was bigger than the Carrier Dome. It was gigantic, and there's pictures surfacing of dancing, maskless, no social distancing. So we should all just follow Obama's lead, right? I feel like.
Obviously.
I mean, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I've been doing.
Good life advice. Just follow Obama's lead.
I mean,
maybe not on foreign affairs or interacting with the press.
Let's not blow up any 16-year-old kids, but
or weddings.
Yeah. Listen, all these things are, one party, I say party, one side of the aisle, political spectrum, whatever you want to do, will kill Obama for saying that he's disregarding these. The pro-COVID people are killing Sturgis because it's a bunch of primarily right-leaning folks spreading that, but Lollapalooza is probably a large amount of left-leaning folks at the concert. So I'm not worried about any of these things, but the fact that people talk past one event to get to the other event without even acknowledging a previous event happening is, again, just very selective cherry picking of the news. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't care that Obama had a party, whatever. Yeah, right. I mean, whatever. But the fact that nothing should be used
differently. Yeah. If Donald Trump had his birthday party this weekend in Mar-a-Lago and had that same exact event, people would be viewing it very differently. We get a lot more coverage. In the same way that the George Floyd protests were signed off by medical professionals as a health crisis that justified the risk of super spreaders, but the January 6th riots, in air quotes, let's call them the January 6th protests, were a potential super spreader event, and there was no reason for that. I don't even ask for objectivity anymore in the media. I think it's an absolute joke. But yeah, listen, good for Obama. I don't care. Like, go have your birthday party, invite your friends over, rock out to some Pearl Jam, have fun, live your life. My favorite, though, is, I don't remember who this woman was, but I saw the clip. She went on to, what's his name? CNN's guy, the dangerous time to tell, Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta apparently still has a show on CNN, but she came on a show and they were talking about, she's like, oh my God, it is being politicized. It is being so overblown. We are being safe. And then the line of the day was, these are sophisticated, vaccinated people. We don't need to worry about them. Like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, well, like I said, they have selective enforcement of their narratives, I guess.
No, it's the science. The science indicates that the sophisticated class amongst us, we don't need to worry about because they are just smarter than those of us who are so unsophisticated that we don't watch CNN daily or MSNBC or Fox News because you'd rather listen to Joe Rogan, Jimmy Dore, or somebody along those lines online. So we're not...
Ben Hussong.
I mean...
I'm just saying, I'm putting you in that class.
I don't think I quite belong on the level of Joe Rogan and Jimmy Dore, but I appreciate it. It's a very nice compliment.
There. We're moving.
Yeah, we're moving on up, baby.
Yeah. All right. So we touched on this a little bit here, but let's talk about this natural immunity thing because I feel like this should be a backdrop. We have talked about it, but seemingly almost nobody else talks about it, and it almost seems purposely avoiding the conversation. It's not even, I've heard some local officials kind of drop the natural immunity or previously infected folks and whatnot. But there's basically still no benefit for anybody who's had or previously been infected with COVID to get the vaccine. And there seems to be this continued push and to disregard the benefits of natural immunity.
Yep.
We've seen this for months now. And obviously the underlying narrative behind that is, okay, well, get the vaccine. Everything is about maximizing vaccinations and jabs and arms. And the fact that nobody will acknowledge that natural immunity is a thing and that it is beneficial and that doesn't require a vaccine just feeds into the whole idea that the people who are making decisions have super, super low IQs.
I don't even know how to describe it any longer because this just doesn't make sense. I don't understand how you get otherwise halfway competent, intelligent public officials and politicians and everybody else, even regular people that I meet and talk to, of completely ignoring or at least downplaying natural immunity, and you say like, well, natural immunity, it's really robust, and then the response is either, no, it's not. The science says it doesn't matter. In this case, they could still get reinfected, or, well, yeah, but if you got vaccinated on top of having your acquired immunity, then it would be even better. No. It's just like that is not supported by any of the relevant data. I've read the study that said the non-vaccinated people or the natural immunity then got vaccinated are having much stronger antibody results. Like, it's a joke of you have no idea what's going to happen long term with this. And just real quickly
to back up, so we talk about antibodies, but there's more to the immune response than just antibodies.
Right. And that, like, for reference, people that had SARS-CoV-1 back in 2004, still robust immunity to this day. That's weird. But the vaccine is going to require a booster shot at 6 months. And I'm supposed to buy in on this notion that the vaccine is the end-all, be-all and is going to be vastly superior to my naturally acquired immunity. Forgive my skepticism. Honestly, like, forgive me if I'm not ready to dive all in, because now what you're asking me to do is place a ton of faith that doesn't make sense from this minute issue in these science officials and these public health and Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, Dr. Walensky, and all these other people, that they just know better, that they know more than I do, and I don't understand it because I am not sophisticated or educated enough to really grasp the science. Okay, but now you're making me look at these people, and now I have to decide, okay, well, the science isn't really there, so you're telling me I just have to trust these people because they understand it better. So the same people that are telling me a cloth mask is an effective tool to stop aerosolized transmission, the same people that denied it was aerosolized transmission for a year, even when it was painfully obvious that it was. The same people that closed down our schools for an entire year, even though it was completely obvious that schools were not spreader events whatsoever, and we could have looked around the world at all the countries where they didn't shut down schools and nothing came of it. The same ones that released data saying that masks and everything else, social distancing in schools worked. It's on the CDC website. When they compared districts that had all of it versus the ones that didn't, and in neither case did they have more than a 1% school spread. Neither one. And they've basically falsified the entire study because they only counted school cases as if you tested positive and then you were on school grounds for any reason whatsoever in the previous 2 weeks. And then the last line of the study literally says there should be some caution because the schools in the pro-mask distancing group were closed for the first portion of the study. So you weren't allowed to go there. That's on the CDC website to this day. You're talking about the same people that refused to acknowledge oral treatments when they were cheap and generic, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, zinc, vitamin D, ivermectin, and there's some others, completely ignored them and shoved them under the rug, didn't even want to test them, didn't want to fund a single study on it as a government agency. Never mind a private company trying to make money, but as the government oversight agency, didn't want to fund a single study on these low-cost, cheap therapeutics that were showing tremendous clinical results. But instead, we got remdesivir as the only FDA-approved treatment of COVID-19 in America to this day. And again, for those of you who are unaware of remdesivir's claim, never once was there any indication, was there any claim, or was there any reason to believe it would have any impact on mortality. Even when it was approved as the standard of care for COVID, it had zero impact on mortality. The only claim they could make on it was, well, it'll shorten your symptoms by 2 to 4 days. That's the gold standard. That's what we had to study. Oh, and it only costs like $3,000 a treatment. So that's cool. But
it's under patent so people can make money.
Exactly.
So here you go.
So you want me to trust these people after all of these lies that we locked down for some inexplicable reason? They shut down businesses, shut down churches, shut down community and family parties. Oh, the same people that turned a blind eye when Andrew Cuomo sent thousands of people to their death in nursing homes by mandating them. And then when he came out and said, no, I didn't, they all went, yeah, see, I guess he didn't. No, he absolutely did. The order's crystal clear. And then his top aide, well, former top aide, got caught on camera that was released to the public saying we manipulated and covered up the data because we were worried about a federal investigation. And these are the people you want me to trust because I'm seeing data that doesn't make any sense to me. You've been lying to me all along about how it's equally as dangerous for everyone and you have no idea. And asymptomatic spread is the primary driver. Could be 50% of the spread. No. In reality, it's somewhere between 0.3 and 0.7%, and asymptomatic spread has not even been established. Pre-symptomatic spread has. Asymptomatic spread, according to Dr. Fauci, last year, has never been the driver of this type of virus in the history of humankind. But now we all got to walk around with masks on that wouldn't stop it anyway. Because why? Why do I believe these people? Why are you asking me to trust these people? Why do you trust these people? At what point do you just look at them and say, sorry, you're lying. You're lying as often as you can to get me to some end that I don't understand. But all I know is, as I've said before, I'm not getting in a car. I don't know where you're trying to take me, but I'm not getting in because you're trying to coerce me, trying to threaten me, trying to guilt me, trying to lie to me to get me to go along with you instead of just give me the truth and let me make my own decisions. And if I think you're right, I'm on board. And I'm probably the most egregious example still was when hydroxychloroquine first came out, and Dr. Fauci's like, well, it's too early, can't tell. Like, okay, that's fair. Yeah, that might be true. And then the Sturgisphere study came out, and he said, well, the data is really clear now that it's not only ineffective, but it's dangerous. Hydroxychloroquine, the thing that's been around since 1960 that we give to kids and pregnant women and the elderly. That now you bought into that idea. And the study was a company with 11 people had formed a international hospital registry, complete with data from hospitals on every major continent and out of almost every country and all the major hospitals. And 11 people were running this. 11. Dr. Fauci is the head of the NIH for 30 years, looked at this study, and his first thought was not, hey, there's an international hospital registry that's being run and it's getting real-time data on morbidity and effects and mortality, and I didn't know about it until now? That's weird. How did I not know about this? When did this get formed? How long has this been in existence, and why wasn't I aware of it, seeing as how this is kind of my job, and I am the world's foremost expert on this, according to public view? Nope, went right along with it. And then 6 weeks later, when The Guardian uncovered that it was all nonsense, the data was completely falsified, not a word. Not one word. The people that forced you to miss all of your vacations, miss all of your family gatherings, and then went and did it on their own. How long do you listen to these people?
Yeah, we're way past that.
Right, and now you get, I mean, listen, even at a local level with our local politicians, I don't think they're idiots. I don't think they're bad people. I want this to make sense. If I hear County Executive McMahon talk about asymptomatic spread more and more time, I think I'm going to put my head through a wall. Like, who is advising him?
Into Gupta. Dr. Gupta.
And I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but guys, I'm telling you, if you just bother to read it, it becomes painfully obvious. But for some reason, and I think it's well above Dr. Gupta and County Executive McMahon, they're not telling the truth. They keep covering this up, and they keep trying to scare the crap out of you about every little thing known to man. And it's just lying with statistics, and our elected officials just go along with it. And the one or two that do stand up, like Ron DeSantis or Governor Abbott down in Texas or a few others, they get killed. But they're right. And I said my hat's off to these people, because it's hard to stand up in that kind of wave of oppression, not oppression, but oppressive beating down. You just get killed, and everybody comes after you. And you're sitting
most
there,
people don't want to deal with it, right?
No.
So they don't even want to. So they just go along to get along.
No, and then every quasi-medical related professional all of a sudden is an expert in micron size and airflow efficacy of masks, and they're looking down on us common people of like, well, you just don't understand. Like, oh, did they teach you a lot about that when you were in PT school? Did you cover this in depth? No? Then what is your expertise that's better than mine? That you were causally related to medicine? Shut up.
Yeah, they get information handed to them by the industrial hygienists who are testing and creating these masks. So they're all getting it secondhand. It's just as we are.
Right.
But
we're trying to come with some type of objectivity, and none of us could ever be 100% objective. Yes, I am far more likely to buy in immediately a study that says that the vaccines are not as effective as we were. The one that came out and said vaccine immunity is better than natural immunity. But it's not because I'm anti-vaccine. It's because all of the data to this point has indicated that. It has. So if something's different now, then I'm going to be meaning that with some hesitancy to be like, well, that just took a 90-degree turn away from the way everything has been going all along.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a local official, not really our local official, but a local official downstate who is doing it all wrong. Mayor de Blasio, Mr. Hussong, has implemented a vaccine mandate for all people entering indoor buildings in the city. Restaurants, gyms, all offices, all the like.
Smart.
Your Mayor de Blasio.
Not my mayor.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. So, I'm not sure what to even make of this. I've been anti-vaccine passport since the first idea was floated here. Does de Blasio know that 70% of the people in his city who are unvaccinated are people of color?
Probably not.
I think he knows. He cannot not know. I guess the information is literally given to him.
Is that accurate? 70%
yeah.
Oof.
It's like, so what is he doing, right? He's literally just basically creating a new Jim Crow law via the vaccine passport. He's basically outlawing people of color into restaurants and gyms and office buildings. It's literally nonsensical. And
it's a joke.
And more authoritarian than I could possibly imagine. It's literally the worst possible scenario and it's one of the biggest cities in the world, right? So this is not like just some cowpoke little town and whatever. This is literally New York City mandating that people have to have a vaccine passport to get into a building. It's crazy. But here we are.
Again, why do we still think these work? I cannot for the life of me understand why. And you want everybody to get vaccinated. How about anybody who wants to? Because literally the only thing you could say about the vaccine at this point is that it might lower your chance of getting very sick or dying for some amount of time. That's what you can say about the vaccine that is certainly accurate.
And being mandated, right? So it's.
But why are you mandating? Like, let's say I'm really, really super pro-vaccine and wants everybody to get it, and you are not. All right.
Okay.
If I get vaccinated and you don't, all right. So what actually happens? You're more likely to get COVID than me. Okay. You're just as likely to spread it to me or to some other anti-vax person, right? Okay. Now, let's say instead I get COVID. I'm just as likely to spread it to you. So the only thing I can say is, well, I'm less likely to get very sick and die than you are. And then your response has to be, okay, I'm good. I can live with it. No effect on spread, no effect on susceptibility of getting it, just minimizes symptoms. That's all you can say about this, and you want to mandate this for people? You're trying to get the FDA to expedite the approval process for full authorization so we can have vaccine mandates for schools? You people are insane. You're evil. You are crazy. And none of this makes sense. What are we doing? What are we, like, honest to God, what is happening?
Failing miserably.
Oh, my God. And every time this happens, people cheer. Like, oh, thank God, Bill de Blasio. I mean, how many people do you need on the other side of an issue before you go, yeah, I don't want to be on that team? How often do you get, well, Donald Trump's not pro-mask mandates or vaccine passports, but pro-vaccine. Bill de Blasio, Andrew Cuomo, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell. I don't even know who else. But I'm good. If that's the list, I'm out. I don't want to be on your team. Historically speaking, I don't want to be on that team. Whatever you're trying to do, I want to be on the other side of it.
We had a comment in our chat here about Moderna.
Oh, God.
So I wanted to bring up what I shared with you a little bit before we went on the air here. I'll read the comment first. So I thank you for participating, all our passionate fans here. Moderna stockholders are supporting 100% vaccinations and monthly boosters. Is that shocking to you?
No.
So let me read. Some of you guys might know Alex Berenson. He's been reporting on COVID from basically pretty much the beginning.
Day one.
Yeah, and has been maybe the most prominent reporter pushing back on the narrative. But let me read the first paragraph, a couple sentences here from a recent article from August 6th that he posted. COVID vaccine maker Moderna received 300,000 reports of side effects after vaccinations over a 3-month period following the launch of its shot, according to an internal report from the company that helped Moderna manage the report. So this is a leaked presentation to shareholders, basically showing that Moderna had, they don't indicate which 3 months they are measuring here. It could be January to March or April to June, but 300,000 adverse events in 3 months, just from Moderna.
It's terrifying.
I'm guessing the stakeholders, the stockholders, are aware of this to some degree. Maybe, I don't know. It's crazy. There's so much information out there right now that it's hard to know what to prioritize and talk about, because that seems like a gigantic number just from one of these vaccine manufacturers, and who knows. But I wanted to kind of bring that up since we had a comment talking about Moderna. So thank you for participating in the in-depth chat we have here. But let's move on to our, I guess, story du jour. Our governor, your governor, is probably in the last week of his governorship, I'm calling. So we know that Attorney General James has come out with a report last week. We touched on that a little bit, basically confirming or substantiating the 11 claims of these 11 victims, basically saying that, this is the AG's words, that state and federal crimes have been committed by Governor Cuomo. So this has set off a huge firestorm of pushback on the governor. Most people in his party, elected leaders in his party, not disregarding the Republican Party, they are pretty much all against him already, but majority now of the Assembly and the Senates are pretty much on public record basically saying they support a resignation by the governor or he needs to be impeached. So we have a little bit of a timeline here. Today, the Judiciary Committee met at 9:30 and basically to go over the AG report. They have given our governor until Friday, August 13th to provide his side of the story. So they're going to take this week basically and allow him to present the other side. I'm assuming that depending on how confident the governors and the governor's lawyers are, that he could be resigned by the end of the week. I do think that it could be a couple weeks if they allow this process to unfold, because I don't think the impeachment would be presented to the Assembly and for another couple weeks after the 13th. So we're looking at the end of August, last week of August, right in the fair time, actually. So that'd be fun. August 20th, Mr. Hussong, is Governor's Day at the fair.
Awesome.
Who do you think? Do you think Governor Hochul will show up?
No.
Do you think Governor Cuomo will show up?
No.
I don't think anybody's going to show up. Probably not a good idea. But so anyway, so this timeline of impeachment is going to unfold this week. We are going to get information probably all this week. There was multiple investigations in this thing. So we have not just the sexual harassment part of the investigation. There is the book writing / state employees writing the book part of the investigation. And, of course, the hiding of the nursing home data part of the investigation. So we haven't heard definitive takes from the Judiciary Committee about either one of those parts of the investigation. I'm assuming we will. But the sexual harassment allegations has been ramped up with one of the previously unknown victims coming forward, as I think last night or today, coming basically executive assistant number 1, I think he was referred to in the report, basically filing a criminal charge in the county with the sheriff's department and the Albany County. So not only do we have just the reports of the Letitia James's report, we also now have a criminal investigation, at least one, and there's 3 other counties who are looking into investigating or charging the governor with these crimes. Again, on top of the fact that we still don't know how the nursing home data, hiding of the nursing home data, and the writing of the book through state staff portions of the investigations are going to unfold. They shouldn't be small parts of this investigation. I know the sexual harassment is the juicy part and everybody talks about it, but those other things are just as, mind-bogglingly criminal by a governor than those. So first, Mr. Hussong, do we have any takes on the investigation? Do we have any takes on, like the lawyers for Cuomo kind of came out and presented their side. They made some points. I'm not dismissing, I do think that there is a coordinated, is probably not the right word, but there is a piling on from his own party at this point, thinking that he's damaged goods and they're jumping ship as quickly as possible. What's your initial takes on the investigation, on the reports? How do you think this week's going to go, if you have any takes at all?
I bet you he's still governor on August 20th.
On August 20th, but you don't think he's going to be at the fair?
No. So
I think he could be still governor on August 20th. I do think that there is a better than 50-50 shot that he resigns before Friday. And that's just basically, this is almost like a week of assessment for the governor and his team, right? So they know that he's not going to resign, supposedly. They do seemingly have enough votes to impeach him. I can't imagine that he would want to go out as an impeached governor, right? So I don't think he eventually. I think he eventually resigns. They figure out a way for him to. I don't know if you heard. There's actually this report that he has bartered a "I won't run for a fourth term if you don't impeach me" thing. I'm not really sure that anybody could trust him if to say that he's not going to run again. But either way, I think this week is a pivotal week for the resignation part of the story. Whereas if he's not completely confident in his, his side of the story being given to the Judiciary Committee by Friday, that he may just resign to avoid the trial, because I think that a impeachment trial is inevitable if he does not resign.
I think that he is enough of an egomaniac and the level of arrogance in this gentleman. He can't resign. He won't. I don't think he'll resign under any circumstances. And I do think that he'll barter a deal. And
you don't think he'll resign if enough pressure is put on him or enough evidence is put in his face that he's going to be impeached?
Nope.
So you think he's just going to ride out the impeachment?
I think he'll go down fighting. And I think what he'll do is he'll try to cast himself as the victim of this witch hunt, and everybody's coming after him because of this, that, or the other, and that he was misunderstood and mishandled, and he did some things wrong, but certainly not enough to rise to this level. And he's learned from these mistakes, and the people that are coming after him are just political. That's it.
So
remember last February or March, I guess it was, when we were talking about the nursing home stuff, or last April, and he just kept coming out, and you and I kept discussing it on the show of, like, how can he just lie and so many people just believe it, and nobody in the media is asking a question? Like, nobody wants to follow up on any of this, even though he was so clearly wrong. Nobody was asking him about the book deal. Hey, how much money are you about to make? How much?
Yeah,
how much?
And I listen, I do think that the people who are supposed to hold him accountable missed the boat on that. But I feel like there's a crack in that, and I don't know if it was I don't think it was the media respects Governor Cuomo. I think they just feared access and ridicule coming back at them from his team. So now that he's wounded, I think there's more push from even the media to question some of this.
Yeah.
Maybe fingers crossed that I hope that that's the case, I guess. But I do think that, first of all, I can't imagine he's governor of 2022. No? Have you made that assessment yet?
Like winning another term?
Yeah. Do you think he? No. So, okay.
But I think he finishes out his term. That's my guess.
Okay.
And listen, I shouldn't rule it out. I'd say there's at least a chance he'll still run, because I think ultimately this is you count on the collective short memory span. So you get through the next 2 weeks, which will be brutal, and all kinds of calls, and people will be claiming impeachment and everything else. And then all you need is something else to pop up, like, I don't know, a big spike in COVID cases, or Governor's Day at the fair. Are masks being required at the fair?
No, not right now.
So you come out and be like, listen, I'm not comfortable, and I don't think anybody should be going to a place that isn't required. I won't go there because I don't want to spread anything.
Are you trying to make this fair a super spreader event?
I mean, I guess it's going to be, but we're not using cash, so at least we got that going forward. By the way, this was brought up to me, was, all right, so they're not accepting money at the fair, no cash, everything's tracked on, like, credit cards and stuff. It's like, yeah, do you think that's just so that they can track and trace everybody right from the get-go with nobody falling through the cracks? And I was like, well, I hadn't gone to quite that spot yet, but I guess I'm not ruling it out either.
Right. That seems a very plausible reason to do that,
Yes. So all this considered, this is why I'm so skeptical. Like, it's happened before. It's going to happen again, where people have learned, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Ralph Northam, whether it's whomever you want to go with here, that just don't back down and just keep fighting. And what's the upside for him if he resigns?
The only upside in a resignation for him is to avoid impeachment. That's really the only one.
But
that's just a credibility thing, right? So he might not literally care about that if he's not going.
Where's he going?
For sure, right? So
if he goes down fighting, he can always turn around and claim that it was a witch hunt. And God knows, if I've learned anything over the last year, it's that if you just repeat something often enough, a ton of people will get on board with it, even if it makes absolutely no sense.
No doubt. I don't argue that.
And here's the thing. I genuinely believe that this man is a sociopath, and he couldn't care less. Like, he doesn't care what you think about him. He doesn't care what I think about him. He just cares that his ego is so intact, and he feels that he is almost entitled or like the best person to do this, and he wants to be president one day and everything else. If you resign and just admit this, you're forever the governor who resigned in disgrace. If you go down and you can present evidence that shows all this other stuff, well, you, me, most rational and reasonable people, and like every Republican, is going to say, like, no, we should never forget about this. But they will. And they're going to say, like, yeah, he's wrong. But then it gives the other side sort of a leg to stand on of, see, that they just came after him. And then you just go after you have to acknowledge that most of these people that are involved with this investigation have their own political aspirations. Letitia James is no exception, and that's fine. I'm just not listen, I hope he resigns because it would be the right thing to do. I just would never count on this man doing the right thing. That's what I've learned over the last couple of years is when given the opportunity to do something self-serving and self-indulgent or the right thing, the track record's pretty clear. He's not making the sacrifice for the greater good.
He's going the opposite. I totally agree.
Every time.
All right, so let's quickly touch on the impeachment process, if you will. So
Sure.
we touched on this, and we had a whole episode about this, I don't know, a few months back when this first kind of all broke. But
Yep.
We touched on the timeline a little bit. So we the governor has until Friday, August 13th, to make his case, if you will, supply the Judiciary Committee with the evidence to counteract the AG report. So that'll happen.
Can he extend that?
I don't think so. I think, well, I mean, I guess anything's possible, I guess, but I feel like this deadline was just given purposely last week to allow the governor to make his case. So we have until Friday for the governor to make his case. I do think that there is a small window here for him to resign this week if he feels and his advisors did feel that the case is just not strong enough. So, but if it goes through Friday and he presents his case, the Assembly will have to draft articles of impeachment sometime, I'm assuming a couple weeks after that. It seems as though maybe the week before Labor Day, this is when most of this is going to start to transpire, which again is right in the middle of the fair week, so that's interesting for us. The Assembly will appoint nine managers for the impeachment, and they kind of serve as presenting the case, if you will. The Assembly votes on that, on the articles, and they need I think it's just a majority for the Assembly to get to the impeachment. So they have way more than 50% of the Assembly already publicly stating that they would impeach. So I think that if it gets to the impeachment level, that he will be impeached and sent to trial. So the Senate, which is basically presided over by current Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, and just as a side note, the Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins, because she is in line to the governor through New York, the Constitution, she would become the acting lieutenant governor during this impeachment trial. We forgot to mention that Cuomo actually has to step down during the impeachment trial, which is kind of unique to New York State versus for example, the presidential impeachment that happened.
Which one?
Whatever. So, you know, I don't know. Let's go back to the
process.
Yeah, the process. So if the Senate, they need to get 2/3 of what they call the judiciary or the impeachment court. I think it's a combination of the Senate minus Andrea Stewart Cousins, because she's basically becomes disqualified as a voter because she's in line to get the lieutenant governor, and the 7, I think it is, judges who make up the Court of Appeals. So it's the Senate minus Andrea Cousins plus the Court of Appeals, which is 7. They need to get 2/3 of that body to convict, if you will, the impeachment for him to be removed from office permanently.
Yep.
So I think there's like 69. I think they need like 46 total votes in that 2/3 Senate vote. So, and then obviously at that point, if he's convicted, he is no longer allowed to run for any state office, which is save the New Yorkers. He could still vote for local and federal offices, which is still weird, and I'm not sure how that would unfold if he tried to do that.
Right.
But he is barred from running for state office again, so he could not run for a 4th term. The lieutenant governor would then become the governor.
Yep.
Western New York native, Syracuse alumni, Kathy Hochul will become the governor. And at that point, Andrea Stewart Cousins goes back to the Senate, and they have a process to replace the actual lieutenant governor. It could be her, but there's a process to actually replace the lieutenant governor. So that's kind of the gist of the impeachment process. I'm guessing you're going to be inundated with most of this over the next couple weeks because I think it's going to move forward and it's actually going to happen. So we have that to look forward to. Mr. Hussong, you have a moment of clarity you'd like to give us?
So my thing is he's just going to – all you have to do is delay this out long enough and people will forget about it. So if you can run –
Which is what happened the first time this kind of happened.
Right. So if you can get delays for whatever reason out there and you can push this off even by 6 weeks, that's all you need. Because I'm of the opinion that says, all right, we're going to have massive case spikes in September of this year. And maybe even at the end of August, because that's when it started to happen last year. And, call me crazy, but I think seasonality probably plays somewhat of a role in this. So as you're going to have that anyway, and then you combine that with the fact that that 6-month mark from when we started vaccinating people is, I don't know, like 2 weeks from now. And so the 6 months as the vaccine efficacy drops, and there's a clamor for booster shots and a call for people to step up, it's going to cause more cases because the vaccine did appear to offer at least some protection early on, and it's going to continue to wane, and that's naturally would lead to more people being infected right as you're hitting the normal flu season anyway, which would lead to a massive increase in cases. And as we talked about, I think 2 weeks ago, they're going to update all of the testing apparatus per the FDA so that it can actually differentiate between COVID-19 and the seasonal flu, which, of course, a reasonable person might then inquire, wait, so it can't tell the difference right now? And the answer is apparently no, it can't. So either way, that is going to be fixed, but not until December 31st. As you and I both know, that mandate doesn't come into effect until 12/31 of this year. So if I'm looking at the big picture and going, all right, how does this play out? If this guy, let's say I'm right, let's say that all this is going to happen, as long as he has not been tried by September 20th, September 30th, then you're going to see a case increase, which now he's going to push for COVID lockdowns and restrictions.
Do you think that the state legislature is going to give him those powers back? I don't
think they're going to give him that power unilaterally, but I think they will go along with what he wants to do, and they have the majority to do it. So I don't think he needs the executive powers to do all this. I think that he can claim, and then just the same thing you're watching right now, anybody that dares speak out, you're going to get lambasted and run out on a rail. You're going to just get blasted up and down, and then that delays it long enough for him to stay in office, and there's all this stuff to be done, and they're going to delay the impeachment until he can do some other out. So that's my honest to God take on it is like, look, I hope he resigns. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think that there's always, anytime you get a sexual harassment allegations, it's always like, all right, is this just you are trying to approach and hit on women, but you suck at it, and like you're awkward, and I like those guys. I always kind of feel like, look, it's wrong, but let's not kill them. Like they didn't really do anything terrible. Like it was bad, but understand that side is he doesn't have any idea what he's doing in this, and so this is the result. I think some of the claims were that. I think some of it was he doesn't have much game, as we can call it, and he's trying to approach and hit on these women. But some of it did cross the line. Some of it went clearly over to the other side of that, where you're just using your position of authority to put these women into an awkward position and take advantage of them and physically touch them and grope them when there was no indication that you should have. Like,
yeah, some of this goes to a bigger picture, too. It's like he pretty much cultivated what he wanted in his office, right? So he hired a bunch of young, attractive girls, situated them and sat their desks next to his office so that he would see the girls that he wanted to see. And so this was I'm not saying that those are all impeachable offenses, but there's a culture that he was building, and it's not somebody who has somebody in power should be building that kind of a culture. No, it's clearly compromised decision making. So
it's horrible and it's bad. And like, but this is what I mean of it's not ever as black and white as we want it to be.
Sure.
It's not like every time that, even if it is legitimate sexual harassment, it's not always meant that way on the part of the I don't know the right word here, guilty party. They don't realize that they're sexually harassing somebody else. They're genuinely trying to like.
Yeah, they're just socially awkward.
Yeah, they're all like Bill Gates. I think a lot of what came out about him was he didn't know how to hit on women, and he kept trying to, and it was awful because then he had all this power imbalance and the dynamic was built up, but I don't think he fully grasped that. I think he saw that as like, oh, finally I have a shot with girls. And so it was just awkward. The come on was bad, and it came out bad. I just came dangerously close to defending Bill Gates on something. God, what is today? But in Andrew Cuomo, I think some of this stuff, from what I've read, and I've not read all of it, some of it definitively crossed over that line and was wrong. Some of it was, hey, you've got to know how bad this power imbalance really is and how bad this is. And if you're doing this, you can't be doing this. And then I think the smaller cases go to show the bigger pattern. But keep in mind, he has the right at trial to bring all this evidence up and other evidence. And then you're going to get into well, if she felt so uncomfortable, why did she come with me to this party? And why did she go with me here? And why did she go with me there? Why didn't the state trooper request to be moved?
Yeah, and I do think that there is some of the defense was that these, I'm going to call them victims, were, I would say leading on, but they weren't
airing their complaints.
Right. They weren't putting a stop to it, so he didn't know that it was wrong. Right.
And keep in mind, he doesn't have to prove he's innocent.
Sure.
He just has to give enough of a reasonable doubt to say, well, maybe we shouldn't convict him and kick him out of office. And so I think that's what you're looking at is you're going to get to that point, and then it gives him the perfect out, because if he can drag that out until next summer, when is the governor's race again? The next election?
November 2022.
2022. Yeah, so now we get into July of 2022, and then he announces, I'm not running a third term. Leading you through this pandemic over the last 3 years has been so exhausting. I'm just going to go and spend some time with my daughters and my mother before she passes away. And then you get the call of like, well, what's the point of impeaching him? He's just going to leave anyway. It's just going to be this. And
well, the same, I'm not sure if the same.
He's not running for another office in New York. He wants to be president. Like that's where he's trying to get to. So, yeah, you could make that claim. Listen, they said the same thing about Trump, but the people that were, even if you thought January 6th was this insurrection in real life, there were still pro-Trump people who thought that, thinking like, well, who cares? Like, it's over with. He's not going to be president. By the time you finish this, it's going to be over anyway. Well, then he can't run again. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see a lot of the same thing on the flip side now. I think that's a perfectly reasonable expectation. And like Andrew Cuomo, what is his incentive for not doing that?
Yeah. Like I said,
to do the right thing?
Being skeptical of him resigning and being actually impeached and convicted and removed from office, I get it. Like all the points that you've made, other people have made similar points and more points of he's not going anywhere. This will pass. I don't know. I feel like we've reached critical mass, and this is all. But the writing, just the final outcome has not been written yet. But he will not be the governor by the end of the year.
I don't know if that's true, and I guess this is the other reason I'm coming down more on this side is because I know how badly I want you to be right, and so I'm trying to not let that influence my overall decision making, because I know, like, I want to believe that I am the most attractive guy in the world, and I want to agree that I want to believe that I'm incredibly smart. I really want that to be true. Doesn't mean it is. And so the same way here of like, I just want that to be the case. I want him to resign. I want him gone. I wanted him going over the nursing homes. Like,
sure.
My God, but what is going on in this country? And I don't mean to diminish sexual harassment or anything else in the workplace. I don't. Comparatively speaking, what he did to these women versus legitimately sending over 1,000 people to an early death and then actively covering up data, getting caught red-handed, and then having staff write a book for him where he was paid $5 million for the book. And then he covered up the data to thwart or prevent a federal DOJ investigation into how it was handled. Like, that we're all okay with, but this is where we draw the line? This is the line, and the red line? I'm so confused, and I don't mean to say like it's okay that he did this to these women. It's not. How is it not worse to go and actually cause people to die because of your order, lie about the order to the media, to the press, and everybody else who dares ask a question, and then block access to yourself and your office to anybody that asks more than once? Have your top aide get caught on camera acknowledging that you manipulated and covered up data to prevent a DOJ investigation, and then using your staff being paid by taxpayers to ghostwrite a book about your leadership, and you get paid $5 million for a book that probably made $500,000.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that has to go because most of these politicians know the sausage making in the background, and they are part of it, and if they shed light on it, they get dragged down with them. So, to your point, I'm sure that's why they all want him to resign, so that they don't have to go through some of this.
Think about how many people in New York politics are guilty of at least the same exact stuff that he is, if not worse.
For sure. And that's kind of been if you're right and he fights it to the end, I'm going to hope that he just takes down anybody with him that he possibly can.
I want him to go scorched earth so bad to be like, you know,
It'd be hard to.
His career's over if he resigns. It's just that simple. He's never going to make it to the presidency. Like, nobody bounces back from that.
Yeah.
There's some things you can bounce back from. This is not one that you're going to bounce back from. Not in a way that is going to garner you votes and whatever else.
Yeah.
Especially not as a Democrat. It's not going to happen. If you resign and you acknowledge all this is true and you admit defeat, you're over. It's done. But if he goes down swinging, and my God, think of the dirt this man has, especially on a state level, but even somewhat of national level on these politicians. Holy crap, I want him to go scorched earth and just release it all and be like, you know what? Whatever.
Go. Yeah.
And then he'll get just welcomed with open arms onto Fox News and the right as he trashes all of these Democrat politicians, and it'll be the weirdest thing ever. And I'm in for this.
Yeah. So let's finish up talking about some of the fallout, though. So you mentioned former top aide Melissa DeRosa. Yep. If you guys don't know, she resigned last night, Sunday. Of course, night. You know, making sure that over the weekend.
Always do it on a Friday or a Sunday.
I found her statement interesting in the fact that she talked about how she loved working for the state, how New York, that is, how much the last 2 years were very hard on her and whatnot. But her boss was not mentioned in the statement at all. No mention of Andrew Cuomo, working for him, working with him, anything like that. I found that interesting. I don't know what to make of it. Other than maybe her testimony was some of the testimony that kind of pushed the investigation over the edge, if you will, over the cliff. And because she's so, so important and so vital to the way that the governor's office is run, as you point out, she's the one who, basically said we froze. I found her resignation more than interesting, and I found her statement kind of amplified that. So I don't know what to make of it, but I feel like her departure has all but sealed the deal that he's no longer going to be the governor, I guess. When I heard that, I was like, okay, it's over.
Okay. It's a reasonable conclusion. I want to be that optimistic, and I want to believe it's to be true. And you might be right. You might actually be far more accurate in your assessment than mine. I think I might be overreacting because of how badly I want that to be true.
Sure. And let's also talk about, we haven't talked about this at all, really, but his brother made a appearance in the report.
Another proud moment for legacy media.
So he basically, this is Chris Cuomo. You guys know he hosts, I guess, the top-rated CNN show. I'm not really sure, quote-unquote, top means anymore. But he is the most viewed show on CNN. But he, in this report, basically wrote a response for his brother, the governor, which the governor basically read almost verbatim. And there's calls for Chris Cuomo basically to resign and basically be taken off the air because he is not actually performing the duties of a journalist or any news person or in the news. I guess he's
CNN. Stop.
I mean, not shocking, I'm sure.
Stop.
But he's still there. He's still doing a show. He has not yet talked about the governor. He just basically went right into COVID and Governor DeSantis. So he was talking about the other governor instead of his brother. But I mean, I guess it's easy to say you probably don't think Chris Cuomo should be on the air doing his job if he is compromised in a way that he is affecting the news as opposed to reporting the news. Do you think that he is eventually removed from his CNN gig?
No.
No? So you think Cuomo brothers are going to ride it out together?
Listen, again, how did Chris Cuomo not get fired after the nursing home debacle where he's got his brother on with props while people are dying?
Did you know that there is right now no current residents owned by the governor? Where would he go when he gets kicked out of the mansion?
I mean, he's got $5 million in a trust. He'll be fine.
That went to the daughters.
Yeah, sure it did.
Do you think he's going to emerge from Chris Cuomo's basement?
I hope so.
I hope he stays down there.
Listen, as for Chris Cuomo, listen, this has been a joke since the beginning. Brian Stelter's already out all over the media talking about how it's a really dicey and tricky situation. And you know what? The public shaming he's got is probably already enough punishment, because how do you even come back from that? I don't know, you forfeit your multi-million-dollar per year job because you are an embarrassment to your industry. I feel like that'd be a start, but
yeah. And then there has been some pushback even within CNN. So I give those people some credit for basically saying, hey, he does not need to be on the air anymore. They're not really necessarily public yet. But
so here's the flip side of it, though. With Fox News a few years ago, Michael Cohen came out and said his only other client was Shawn Hannity, and he had to release that, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, the horror of it!" And Shawn Hannity came out and was like, "Look, I gave him like $100 as a retainer to advise me on real estate. I think I only paid him so I could get attorney-client privilege. He didn't represent me in anything meaningful. It was nothing crazy." Now, is that true? Is that false? I have no idea. But I guess my end result is it doesn't matter, because Shawn Hannity was more valuable to Fox News in his radio hosting capacities and TV shows and everything else, and people tuned in, and it became a monetary decision. Chris Cuomo has the highest rated show on CNN, which admittedly is like having the biggest chair at the kids' table at Thanksgiving, but all the same, if that's what you got, then that's what you got. So if they fire him, who's coming in? Like, who are you going to get that's going to draw that audience? And this also, you have to assume that the Cuomo brothers have some dirt on Jeffrey Zucker. I feel like that's a safe assumption.
So I'm pretty sure that Zucker's probably on his way out. That's kind of been rumored for a little bit here.
Did you know that 4 years?
Did you know that the second in command, the woman who is being touted to replace Jeff Zucker, used to be Governor Cuomo's former communication director?
Outstanding.
So you got that going for us. And
God,
basically the thought is that she's been protecting Chris Cuomo this whole time, and that's why he is still employed with the network. So we'll see how that unfolds.
God, this world is dirty. Like, the whole world of legacy media and politicians is just...
Speaking of dirty, we didn't talk about this, but I happened to read a part. So maybe you're familiar with Time's Up. It was an organization that was founded right after the Me Too movement. So apparently a couple of people on their board also offered Cuomo advice during this, literally taking the psyche of victims and using it to basically
reattack them.
Yeah, so they used the information that they would find through victims that they have been dealing with, and use that as a way to make the scenario for governor less. They try to basically blame the victims. So this is a company or a nonprofit, I'm assuming, organization that was founded to support victims, that has basically been working to undermine the victims, which is just craziness to me. So I'm not sure how that Time's Up is still have any credibility. I mean, they've been getting attacked ever since the whole Me Too thing kind of fell apart here. But I found that an interesting side note.
It turns out that when you're full of shit from day one and you just maintain that, eventually you get found out, and then some people, but not everybody, start to lose some faith in you. It's weird. Maybe just trying not being so full of it, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah, that would be the credible thing to do.
Amazing, but it's never happening because it's too much our team versus your team, and it's this, that, or the other. And my attitude on all of this is, I just don't have the patience or the tolerance for this anymore. I'm done. You're so full of it all the way across the board. All these people, like Donald Trump was run up and down for all of the, his former communications director used to work here, and they went there, and they went there. And I'm listening going, yeah, but Barack Obama did the same thing. George W. Bush did the same thing. Why do we care now? Like, what is it about this particular guy that's so crazy? And now you're seeing a lot of this with Andrew Cuomo, and I'll maintain this statement forever. Andrew Cuomo basically is Donald Trump, just with worse policies. Like, they're both egomaniacs. They're both narcissists. They're both very, like, they think they're doing good for other people, and they have these cult-like followings of people, and that's fine. I don't understand it, and I don't have to. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. They might disagree. Maybe they think these are good people. God bless you. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live. That's why I don't think Andrew Cuomo is going anywhere, because even now, at the height of this, right after the report comes out and you're reading all of these details, still in favor of impeachment overall was still only at like 70% or 65%.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
listen, you're telling me at that point, that means 30 to 35 of whoever was polled doesn't matter what he does, because the nursing home scandal, the book scandal, and the sexual harassment scandal, still no impeachment. This is, you could shoot somebody at Fifth Avenue. Like, that's where he's at with those people. So now you get the middle ones that they're going to be, I would anticipate some pullback as time goes on and more context is applied and more excuses are made and more of the, and I don't care. When you come out and a woman accuses a guy of sexual harassment, and then he comes out and says, okay, but if you were so uncomfortable, why did you call me this many times, go to all these parties, and do all this? That does carry weight with the general public. Whether it should or should not, I don't know, but I know that it does. I know that people are inclined to look at that and go, yeah, that is concerning.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be part of the discussion. For sure, it should be, because, just as we're talking about, if there's confusion between the two people, that could lead to an awkward situation.
Sure.
Whatever, I get it. I totally get it. Now, mind you, there's 11 of these situations that we know of, so yeah,
there's more. There's probably hundreds.
Accidentally slipping your hand into a blouse without, and cupping a breast.
Let he without sin cast the first stone.
I'm just saying,
God.
if there's a way to avoid that in the office, I guess you probably do that. I guess, I don't know, or let her make the first move. Then you're really sure of it, right?
I just don't understand how you can claim it accidentally slid your hand under a woman's blouse. I've never had it happen. I guess I'm just very fortunate.
Or unfortunate, I guess.
I'm going to stick with fortunate.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with that.
So I'm assuming we're going to be following this impeachment here thing and Governor Cuomo and all the fallout here for at least a couple weeks. Let's hope we have some news coming out Friday from the governor's side. I expect. We're going to have something. I'm not sure if there's going to be something that is necessarily something we should be discussing here, but we're going to get some news here on Friday. And then we're going to go forward. Like I said, I don't expect an impeachment a trial to begin until maybe September. But it'll be fun. I mean, fun in a
dystopian sense.
Yeah, I guess that you're just going to try to be riveted to see what's going to happen. The committee today that was had their press conference at 9:30 was a mob scene of news cameras and reporters. So at least there's people covering it. I don't know that that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. That's Cuomo's removal of office, but there is definitely a lot of spotlight on him right now, and I can't imagine. It's hard to imagine, other than just being completely disenfranchised with the government and the systems in place to protect the people. I don't understand how he is or will be the governor by the end of this year. That seems like it's almost. I understand why people are skeptical of that, but it seems to me that again, we've reached critical mass here and that it's all over except the writing on the wall. Or whoever's going to write the final, whatever it is, resign, impeachment, whatever it is. We just don't know how the end is going to be, but the end is going to be without a Governor Cuomo.
I hope you're right. I am cheering for you in this debate.
All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for bearing with the choppy start at the beginning here, and any problems with any kind of reverberation in your headphones, I apologize for, and won't let it happen again, I hope. But on that note, again, like and share this video. Well, Mr. Hussong, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave the folks with? I forgot to check in with your outside of COVID and Cuomo, maybe? Anything?
No, just thank you for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun, and we appreciate you guys joining us. It's been great.
So tune in next Monday, 12 p.m., another live show here. I'm sure we'll touch on Cuomo. I know you guys like to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, Hunter Biden's laptop, and ivermectin as well. So maybe we'll work in some of those topics where we can titillate the audience here. But until then, again, be sure to share and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted to new content as we release. And if you want to support the show, you can go to anchor.fm/SCAPP and actually become a single or recurring donor to the program here and help support what we do. So on that note, Mr. Hussong, thank you for joining us. I want to thank the audience for joining us again, and we'll see you all again next Monday.